My name is Partha Sen Sharma and I am an IAS officer of Uttar Pradesh cadre of the 1994 batch. I am presently posted as Principal Secretary Medical Health and Family Welfare and located in Lucknow. I like to believe that now I have a multiple personality. Apart from an IAS officer, I would like to believe that I am also an author. I have published around 5 books and which has been read by thousands of people. 4 of the books have been translated into Hindi also. The last book is in the process of getting translated. I think it was the pictorial depiction of Ramayana and Mahabharata. I always wanted to read, I always liked reading. Why I read so much was in those days in Delhi, when I was growing up as a student, there used to be concept of lending a library. So those lending libraries used to lend books and they used to charge per day. One had to finish the book in 24 hours, otherwise you have to pay for the next day. So that is how this reading started and that is how I started managing to read so fast. I think that lending libraries was a great reason why I started reading so much. That has changed over this period of time. Of course, as a person you grow, and as you read you grow further, and you decide on your books based on your age as a person and also your age as a reader. 20 years ago, the books that I read is not the books that I will read now probably. First thing about choosing a book is definitely that it has to hold your attention. And next, you may decide that I would like to read a book which adds something to my mental qualities, my intellectual knowledge, my mental wisdom. And I personally like to read books of very different genres. So I would like to read from very wide genre. I would like to read literature, I would like to read novels, travelogues, I would like to read history, I would also like to read of philosophy, science. So I personally like to read from a very, very wide range, and I like to exchange. I would like to share the notes about the books that I read with other people. It is a very, very difficult question, and it is also your favorite book changes over time. So when you're 25, your favorite book can be Fountainhead or a love story. When you are 35, it can be Rag Darbari. Incidentally, one of the books that I really liked when I joined the service. When you are 45, it can be Sanskriti ke Char Adhyay of Ramdhari Singh Dinkar. And so, as you grow as a person, your choice of books changes. Personally speaking, probably from the classics, I would say one of the classic novels that I loved reading was Quiet Flows the Dawn. Also, I would say from the classic novels, I was a great fan of Dickens, never so much of Jane Austen. I read extensively in my youth Ayn Rand, Eric Segal. Later in my life, when I started reading travelogues, as you can understand, I was reading mostly English. As I started reading travelogues, I have enjoyed reading travelogues of Naipaul, of Bruce Chatwin, of Paul Theroux. I have also enjoyed reading Indian writers in English. I have enjoyed Vikram Seth. I have enjoyed Ruskin Bond, Jhumpa Lahiri. I feel fortunate that I can read extensively in Hindi, English and Bangla. So I have extensively enjoyed reading in Bangla. Satyajit Ray, Tagore, Vibhutibhushan Bandyopadhyay, Sunil Gangopadhyay, they are writers I have immensely enjoyed reading. And I think that we do not give too much of credit to our vernacular and Indian language writers. Many of them are far, far we can relate to than the English writers, but that is how we have grown up. The one quote which has changed me, I don't know, but the one quote is a very, very famous opening line, and many people quote that anyway. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. I will leave it to the readers to know the book. but it is in many ways philosophical also, because it tells you the time changes one, and at the same time it can be good for some person and can be bad for the other person. Reading a book that has changed me, or a message of a book that has changed me, I don't think it has changed me, but when I read Fountainhead for the first time, I did believe that people should stand up for their own truth, and for their own truth, if they have to sacrifice something, it is how it is done. So that is, I do remember from that book, Fountain. I was in a very impressionable age at that time, obviously, but still I do remember. I also would like to recommend anybody who is interested in Indian history, Sanskriti ke Char Adhyay by Ramdhari Singh Dinkar. I would like people who want to understand India's hinterland, especially North Indian hinterland, to read Rag Darbari or any of Premchand's books to understand what India is. Even in young writers today who are writing about today's India, I would like to especially mention Nilotpal Mrinal. Nilotpal Mrinal's Aughar, I would like people to read. It is very, very, very close to what is reality of today's India. I think for every person, but more so for a UPIS aspirant, one has to read extensively, because one, it gives you better perspective into life, but also in times of today, when there are fractured and competing narratives on history and on other subjects, it is important to read extensively, get different points of view on the same subject, and therefore to reach a wholesome conclusion about any issue. It is even more important in today's age of WhatsApp messages and social media to read books, because that is how you will come to sometime realize what is the actual truth of the matter when you approach an issue from multiple perspectives. So that is why I think it is very, very interesting and important to read book. It is also very interesting and important to keep yourself grounded and not get swayed or get affected too much from day-to-day events. You realize that there's a whole world out there and you are a small part of it, and you also realize that you are a small part in the entire history of time. I think people living in India today are also living history. India is moving at a tremendous pace. It is a very complex country, hugely populous, and definitely has a place on the earth which it is aspiring to fulfill. So people who are joining in the IAS, people who are aspiring to join the IAS, they are in a very, very important stage of their life as well as the stage of the country. They will get a lot of chance to make the country, to contribute in the nation building, and at the same time they must understand that with all their contributions, they are a small part of history. So one has to be content but not complacent. One has to work hard but also keep oneself grounded. I hope my words and what I said made some sense to you, and I hope it will make you understand and think better. I wish you all the best. Thank you.